Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here, in Mendham, mostly. Yeah, there's a, this is just some fluff to throw in the beginning of the video, before I get to the dark and horrible. Okay, so, Amanda did have a great adventure in New York. As far as I know, who knows how things went, but a debate with some eaten meat or some treat and trick, or I don't know, some sort of event where they debate and you, I guess, eat something while you're debating. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, so defending the negative opinion of procreation against somebody who thinks procreating or somehow has a good cause or a good reason to do any such thing, create living things so they can die horribly. And yes, that's the grisly truth of it. And you know, that's the real story of this video. So yeah, this video. So Danny Shine, you know, has made it public, but not in a gratuitous way, that he has been diagnosed with a rather insidious cancer, and you know, it's just not. You know, you're going to have to dig really hard to find the silver lining or the bright side or the just anything close to it's not so bad. No, it's nothing. It's just and I have no capacity to ever deal with any such circumstances. I mean, there's just no, it's just, I have nothing to do but to, it's like you just want to go to a funeral and vomit or something. I mean, the whole thing is just disgusting, that life is this nasty. Anyway, and just so inefficient. It's just so unclean. To not resolve lives and wrap them up in a much nicer packaging and, finish them off and polish them and properly, but even that, even the whole idea of just doing this, existing, writing a story and putting it on a shelf is, what's the point of all of this? What's the point of all of this evolving as an individual, as a human, as a person, becoming knowledgeable so you can be, just in the most undignified way, kicked to the curb and run over and, get washed into the sewer. It's just, fuck this. It's ridiculous that people think there's something sensible in forcing people to march this trail of tears, frankly. Just, it's brutal even when it's not bad. Even when you get it good, it's bad. So anyway. So I'll play the beginning of my video because I think I was less awkward than I am in this video. But it's a very awkward subject. Somebody's in really bad, it's a bad circumstance. You don't know what is there to say? Fuck. It's just sucks. So that's all I said was it sucks. I said it sucks in 4,643 different ways, but that's, that's all you can say. DoNotGod.com, a video presentation. Difficult video, blah blah. Yeah, they're all difficult, I guess. Yeah, so that's sort of it, right? You just have to keep doing this thing where you have to accept something that's unacceptable. That's just, oh, fuck that. That's not right. Let's, fix that. And you can't fix it. And you can't do anything until you're stuck with this stupid, let's accept the unacceptable. And that sucks, but I'm just, there's no pragmatic functional choice in this circumstance, because it's also unacceptable to be just another unacceptable, just to be another version of another story that didn't finish, that didn't complete, that didn't accomplish, that didn't whatever. No point in failing on purpose. Failing with intent. So social experimentalist Danny Shine recently featured in whatever that documentary thing was. I don't remember. Yeah. Shit. I don't even want to. Cancer. Thyroid. So yeah, it's thyroid cancer, and it's like this worst version where you really basically have to cut the whole thing out and every little bit, and it's ew. Yeah, no, it's just a little difficult to so yeah, it's just surviving isn't going to be easy. Not a good one. Just really and so you say to yourself, okay, it's I spent the day thinking, and writing little scribbly crappy notes, trying to say, trying to sum it up in some way, or to say something on the subject. And there's nothing to say, and it's just this weird time where other people are choosing to leave voluntarily, and because of so I'm just sort of pointing out how this is just another part of the awkward, just this rotten part of life, is that the person who wants to be the sports hero is born with a bent leg or something. The thing, it's all this, so there's, people who, wish they could have a couple more years, good health, because they still feel motivated and compelled, and they're, they're in the mood for a charge. And, and then the people that have that ability are too done in and shell-shocked and depressed and all that kind of crap. And, and so it's like, the mind, the body, well, that's a good contradiction, right, is that you can be in a place mentally and your body just isn't cooperating. You just don't feel well enough to do all that you want to do. Their distress. And it's just, life has always been this way. It's like love triangles and shit. You know what I mean? It's just nothing, it's the odds are it's going to be square peg in the round hole thing. And it's, there's just not too many of those stories that come out with, round peg, round hole, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I might as well play the rest of my vulgar joke. But, this has always bothered me, about life. It's just this, it is just, it's too sticky. It's too, nothing's ever as clean and as straight. I mean, there's just no straight lines. It's all bent, and, it just doesn't make any, it doesn't, it never suited me as being properly functional. It's just not, really is a rickety roller coaster, and it's just, why the hell would I want a seat in that thing? Well lubricated, fun. It just doesn't all work somehow. and people have to go to the store and buy some machine that shoves a dildo in and out of their ass. Yeah, so, you know, it just pointing out, I mean, it is just so the struggle to be happy that, you know, and the lengths that people will go to find these little bits of gratification and little, you know, their little squirt of endorphins or whatever. Yeah. Ridiculous doesn't really say it. Whatever. Anyway, so I was thinking, like, the only thing to say about life is they're just stories, right? I mean, so I like that part of just recognizing that that's all we really represent is another story in this big book of stories. And frankly, they all can be put in categories of, you know, dismal failure, colossal failure, catastrophic failure, preposterous failure, some version of shit. I mean, there isn't any life out there that you could put on a pedestal and say, gee, there it is, that's the life to live. Both productive, efficient, you know, everything worked out just fine. It felt good, it made the rest of the world feel good, everything worked out just fine. No, it just doesn't exist. So it's all, you know, they're all kind of crappy stories, but you can definitely recognize that some of them are at least on the surface of the crap and are the better stories. And I'd argue that Danny's was a good story. Good story of a human being going through the process of acquiring the capacity to analyze their life and recognize all the bullshit that is driving the world and then driving them, and so they became an activist in terms of just trying to push on some of the bullshit, and good for him, good on him, and such. No, jumping ahead. Civilization, and they're not trapped by nature. They're not in either one, you know, and they're in some. All right, so I was talking about, yes, how, you know, the creatures in the neighborhood, you know, there's just so many people that are, you know, yellow bussers. You're just saying, how the hell, who even dresses that person, you know, because they're just so, you know, and, you know, they're not living in any reality. I mean, they're in their own little delusional WWF fakerverse, and it's just, you know, god damn, it's, yeah, it's just, ew. You're saying that story needed to be written? No, that story did not need to be written. I mean, the whole audience for professional wrestling, these are all, you could just say, well, let's take a picture of this audience, because you know, anybody even pay money to go see it in person, you got to say, what the fuck? I mean, these are stories just don't need to be written. People vicariously getting off on that crap? Oh, fuck. I mean, it's an interesting human story of, you know, traveling through your life and seeing how you were just kind of duped, you know, and you lived in a, you know, a fake world of, you know, fake expectations, you know, a bunch of broken promises, you know, where, yeah, and just your corrupt ambitions, you know, and the fact that it's all just some sort of addiction and some sort of dependency, and, you know, driven by servitude to this, you know, achievement, competitive, blah blah blah, all these very negative psychological syndromes that keep people active and aggressive in the game, but aggressively failing to play a good game. And he rose above that poor beginning, let's say, and exterminated by the Terminator. And Yeah, so this is really what it's right. You know, so somewhere in here I referenced the silly movie where the planets collide or something. And Melancholia, right? Yeah, that's it. Something like that. I don't know if that was it or not. Well, anyway, but we're all facing it. We're all. This is the reality. The reality is that you're gonna get crushed. You're gonna get destroyed by this catastrophe. The tornado doesn't. You know, it's any tornado will do. It's all coming for you, and because they pick us off one at a time. We don't see it as the same kind of catastrophe, but it's the same catastrophe. We're all going to meet this horrible fiery death, so to speak. You know, most of us. It's, you know, it's going to be a terribly undignified, painful, awful, horrifying experience. That, you know, and that's the average. And it, you know, it happens to everybody. That's really pause-worthy. Yeah. Oh, that's something we should fix, isn't it? Maybe. The cradle isn't a coffin. You know, they say cradle is a grave. I guess is a quote from somebody. But you know, you can say it a lot of other ways. You know, it's a crypt, a coffin. You think of something better. Yeah, it always turns into a coffin. So every cradle turns into a coffin, something like that. And it's, you know, and it's not going to do it in some graceful way, preserving dignity and beauty. It's going to do it in some. It's going to be ugly and bad. Required to say, I am fully aware that I will kill my child in some horrible way. That is the problem. Yeah, so that's what people really should sign a piece of paper before they do this, get a license to have kids, and say that they're acknowledging that these are the truths, that they are imposing this molestation on their children, that they will have them killed, you know, and probably badly, and they'll have to struggle and fight for any, you know, peace and comfort they're going to get out of their life, and it's they're going to be wage slaves and all of the bullshit that comes with this bullshit life, and yeah, I mean, they should just admit what they are as insidious molesters. And they're not doing it for any good reason. I mean, they're doing it for some stupid, I want to wear my kid as a badge thing. It's like the old people that wear fetuses on their collar. You know, they're just their kids are just some sort of badge. Like, look, I'm not infertile. Or, look, I'm not gay. Or whatever they're doing. But it's, I don't get it, so I can't tell you what they're doing because there's not anything in my brain that can manufacture some reason that I would ever have a kid on purpose, especially on purpose. It was just never an imaginable idea in my conscious thing. My brain just never said, yes, I want to play Papa. I want to be called Papa. No, I don't. Oh, God, no. Popsy? No. No. And Daddy. Oh, it's just so bad. Oh, I just, ooh, cringe. I just, so obviously I can't imagine. I have to keep saying, well, gee, I guess they're all fucking child molesters or something. I don't know what the fuck they want. What do they want these kids for? What the fuck are they going to do with them? They don't have a use except to torment you, to give you a, to have you in constant worry. Is something going to go wrong? Is something going to go wrong? Oh, fuck that. terrified. Yeah. So maybe I got it worse because I spent so much time. Yeah. So I mean, that's the part of the catch is even the threat of it is just so grisly. This unknown future you're getting imposed on you. With all these dark possibilities, and that's the terrorism part. That's almost worse than the actual terrorist act, is the amount of fear and paranoia it creates. How many people, going in and out of their house, locking doors, doing all, you add up all that wasted life, and that's almost worse than the amount of harm caused by the actual bad people doing bad things. It's all the time wasted, lost, all the life. If you took all the hours, the years of life lost, fiddling with keys and locks, and, it would be a tiny percentage of the amount of life lost to the murderers and the mayhem causers. Letting it, it's just the truth. There's so many circumstances like that. Our defense against this worst case scenario is a billion times more expensive than the actual catastrophe would have been. It's this heroic almost adventure, and to becoming a very good gladiator in this war. So yeah, that's this, just like I said, he seemed to have found his running shoes. He found a way of living his life where he could feel good about what he was doing and good about his life. And that's not when you want the bad news. So, it just hangs there over all of us. It just hangs there. Ew. Ew. Yuck. Brains. But, that overt, in-your-face kind of, even if it's an accident from their perspective, they accidentally get bludgeoned by, because they went to the store and Danny shines. So it's just about his activism and how it plants seeds, and you just can't deny that, people need to be sometimes jarred and pushed, where I tend to say I have the more, let them ask for it, so to speak, or I'm just not as aggressive. But I have to say it's probably better to have that ability to be more aggressive. Some capacity to critique, him likewise, I guess. And so I would assume, in terms of style. All right, so we didn't really, we're best friends or anything. I think we had some mutual interest in each other's functionality. We had a few conversations, sort of kept in touch a little bit here and there, and every now and then a comment or whatnot, and but clearly both motivated by this idea that the world is bullshit, and I guess I would go, it's bullshit all the way back to the DNA molecule. It's where the bullshit started. We didn't show up and invent bullshit. Bullshit was invented by the process of evolution, and this nonsensical, pointless bacteria war that's taking place on the surface of Earth, and that's all it really is. It's just a silly war between DNA molecules. And just as individuals are meaningless and just fertilizer for the process, so are entire species. And nothing is nothing is immune to the indignity, of just having nothing even acknowledge its existence. I mean, there's a ton of organisms that lived on Earth that we don't even, species that existed because there's no fossils that we've uncovered yet, and they just weren't numerous enough. And so, there's a ton of animals right now on Earth that are just so few of them in such tiny locations that there'll be no record of their existence. And it's just all of that unacknowledged, stories written that'll never be read, stories that won't be appreciated or valued. I was just thinking of war and all the people that died on the, boats getting blown up and submarines sunk and all the, horrible, and these are all kind of heroic stories, some of them, and never be acknowledged, never be really known. The truth won't be known. It's all so ugly. Yuck. I mean, I wouldn't sign up to participate in a system, okay, that even if you had to pay a price, that there was no acknowledgement of what the price was. You never even said the name of the guy who fell off the bridge, building the bridge. That kind of thing. Fuck that world. They're going to need you to show up in the bedroom and put it on for them too. So I was talking about him. He's kind of pushes condoms, and that would be something that I just wouldn't bother wasting time with, because if people can't figure out even that simple agenda, then they're such imbeciles that you're probably not going to be able to correct their dysfunction, and so they'll I don't know, they'll use the condom as a nose protector or something. They automatically think they did it on purpose, and think, believe, I'm going to do it better than my parents, and I'm going to do. Oh yeah, so as soon as somebody gets a baby, then they think of all this agenda that they have, and all this functionality they're going to do, and all this, making up for past mistakes or something. None of that happens, and they just fail dismally because they don't know what they're doing. Making a human being is a complicated process, and you have to accept that the process is going to include a lot of things you don't want to do, which are going to be unpleasant. You're going to have to play a psychological game with your children, and it's not going to be a fun game if you want to build their character. If you want them to do all the things that you think they were missing in the sense of what you were denied. It probably goes further than that, because people blame all the wrong things. They'll blame something stupid like, well, my father wore brown shoes and that's why I'm a psycho killer. I don't think that's why. He talks well. He does a lot of things well, and right. So like I said, Danny was good at what he was doing. He spent a life learning how to do it, and he was good at it. And it's just kind of sucks that he's being interrupted in his functionality, catastrophically. All right, I'm back. Yeah, you probably didn't know I was missing, but I was missing for a minute. Carry on and do the best you can to write a sufficient ending. Yeah, just, it's part of just the cruelty of life, is not knowing what you're going to be afforded as time, and whether there's going to be enough of it, and whether you can, clean up your life and deal with this, and it's just so awkward and bad. For one of the most important parts of the story is the ending. and we're just not allowed to orchestrate it well, and that's just sucks. I mean, you really can't live anticipating your death, because then you just get rid of everything. You don't have anything. You can't do anything. Yeah, so it's very awkward to have to live in that twilight of all this could-be's. Be not very eloquent again, so I'm always kind of saying, well, there's a better way to say that. You know, better than this open-minded kind of nonsense or some other kind of thing. Right, so I was just talking about the fact that he had dealt with this idea of giving your life some, doing some self-analysis, and you know, there's just not a great way to say what that is, that enlightenment of that philosophical place of being someone who thinks about their life and thinks about how their brain is functioning. And it's a character builder, frankly. Wind up. You don't. It's an illusion. And don't know what, you know, but obviously most just the whole thing is not real in terms of all the ways we contextualize the event of being alive and functioning. It's all, you know, made of shit and nonsense and coincidences and circumstantial blah 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 and whatever. You know, so, you know, that's a very, from my perspective, okay, that's something I admire just because I sort of went through the same. Right, so I was just talking about the idea of being introspective and starting to analyze your own motivations and what drove you into this and drove you into that and drove you to do this and drove you to do that, and realizing how it was all pretty crass and juvenile and trivial and stupid in other people's brains, that maybe they should spend some time thinking about their motivations and why they do what they're doing and why the yes, all these pro-lifer types and all these raggers about the horrible ethalists and whatever, all these people, you just say to yourself, God, why can't you take a second to think about what the fuck you're talking about, you bullshitters? You think this is the way to go, you know, this stupid game of predator-prey. You think there's something glorious in that, do you, you fucking retards? Oh, this is disgusting. I mean, you know, I sort of say in the video, I wouldn't wish this on the people I hate the most, but I mean, some things you almost say, yeah, they should be the ones to get the worst of it, you know, get digested in a giant anaconda's gut. About the whole idea that, you know, human beings should be born into the world sexually confused. You know, even oh yeah, so I was just making a contrast between those of us who are old nostalgia seeking artifacts, you know, and the new people, you know, who think this new world is functional, you know. And this whole idea of humans being completely fucked up and retarded and having 4 million ADDT, BBCDD, you know, all that crap, and you know, and they're glorifying garbage. I mean, this whole idea that we should be conflicted about everything. We can't figure out what we are. I mean, it's just too ridiculous to defend that as anything but a negative bit of functionality, something to be. So these are stories that we shouldn't have to write. These aren't stories to admire. You know, the story of, you know, figuring out when you're 65 that, oh, I should have been a woman. Oh, I better get to that. That's not a good story. part of what I think Danny does do with his bullhorn is, you know, he's might look like he's just spitting at people, but, you know, he's planting seeds. Yeah, he's spewing the antivirus. You know, and it's going to infect people. I think anytime you challenge people, they're going to have to, you know, it'll float around in their head. Are you a perpetrator? I mean, I could say the word, you're a perpetrator. And then they're going to think, well, am I a perpetrator? I mean, am I really just preying? Am I just sucking other people the value? Am I tormenting people for my own gratification because I want to win the competition? I'm creating losers on purpose so I can wear the gold medal? What am I doing here? What is my motivation? And I'm just saying, if people look, there's no other, I'm just saying, I've been there and done this. You know, you wallow through your brain and you start opening all the drawers and everything. There's just nothing in there that's going to say, yeah, there's some great purpose. No, there's nothing there. There's no reason to see any good function to come of this creation idea of making somebody who has to look inside all these empty drawers and try to figure out why the fuck they're here and what the fuck they're supposed to do with their here-ness. Because it doesn't look like there's much good to do with it, except fight this stupid evil of these pro-life loonies. It's this whole idea that you just, you know, it's this superstition almost. Some like I said, they somehow, yeah. Well, you know, the paranoia and the you know, you can't live there. You can't live completely always looking for the crack that's going to break your mother's back, and you know, feeling the pressure of the dice roll. You just have to oh, fuck you, just roll the dice. I don't want to know nothing about it until you roll them. But that's not practical either, because you always, you know, being unprepared is not useful either. So, I mean, it's just, there's no winning here. It's all, you know, rock hard place, blah, blah. Catastrophic interruption. You know, we don't know how, well, I mean, it's going to be catastrophic either way, but it's, you know, yeah, I didn't want to get into the details, but I mean, you know, yeah, it's just, no, you know, ew. Shit. Sorry, shit. And we're all going to have to eat it. We're all going to be served that meal of maggots. It's like, why? Well, I didn't, you know, I really didn't sign up for eating maggots. Them were expediently killed, you know, efficiently with little or no trauma to the conscious. And all right, so I was talking about, you know, again, this, you know, repeatedly said it before that all people are all hysterical when people die instantaneously. You know, and it's, you know, they're the lucky ones, the people in the helicopter crash or the plane crash or this. They're lucky. It's, if, you know, in a lot of cases, you can't even see it coming. I mean, you're consciously aware of nothing, that anything bad happened. You know, and in a few cases, maybe you get a few seconds, you know, 1, 2, 3 seconds worth of, oh, everything's going badly, you know, and that's about as far as you get. Everything is going badly, and then the story's over. The badly is over. You know, I have to search for words now. You know, I can't just, yeah, so just talking about the whole degrading process and how it's just so cruel. It's just life is cruel. Especially for higher organisms that, you know, do this acquisition of knowledge and become clever and smart and experienced and all of that crap, and then just watch it all for naught. Become really good, really smart, be really able to play the game even better, and then to lose all the physical skills to do it. I mean, that's just, ew, nasty. However you want to metaphor it, find a way to stop it from reoccurring. Right. So that's the only mission in town, is to, I mean, there's no good. There's just bad to stop. Clean up the bad, and you've you've made a perfect world. And we had adventures in prison. But anyway, so then a little bit about my own psychology, and some way to describe how I had the fortune of missing out on the opportunity to make mistakes. So in some respects, and it's just another way of losing. So you gain what you lose. What you gain in one way, you lose in some other way. It's like, I don't know exactly how to explain that, but it's, you got good vision, then you have a terrible sense of smell or some kind of crap like that. Your children, I don't know, seems you can't get much worse, relative to what other kind of bad touch. So I was talking about the child molesting procreators. How do you get, it's just so insidious a prospect when these are just facts. The fact is you're sentencing your kid to die, and the fact is the odds are it's going to die badly, and the odds are it's going to be disabled by the time it's 50 years old, and the odds are it's going to do all this is what you're signing your kid up for. Is these horrible risks, these swords hanging, the whole bad idea. It's just kind of funny. They think of themselves as glorious heroes, and they're insidious monsters. Just exploiting their kids for some personal inadequacy. They have some personal inadequacy that compels them to have kids. There's nothing else that could compel you except some personal inadequacy. So did all of us. Anyway, so just vampires. You're hungry for their blood. You can't manufacture a life of your own, so you have to manufacture it out of them. That's all. So till the next time, and such, and so, and whatnot. Yeah. So, summing up, there's just no way. So there's no way to do that. I'm no good at, especially when somebody's not dead yet, some kind of eulogy. All I can say is, I just feel really bad and sad and it's discouraging. It's annoying to have to even contemplate somebody having to go through that experience again, and another victim to be fed to the machine, more bones grinding, somebody else to be, it's just, there's just nothing, the ice, the other part is once you start getting older, everybody you cared about is dead. They've already been ground up. There's not enough left. There's not enough victims left. So, it is just so ugly. And I just don't know how people just see past it. Like this isn't a real problem in life, watching this happen to people. It's a real problem. Just watching it is a real problem, let alone being, sliding down the trough, to the grinder. Just even imagining that process and how many times humans have had to face these horrible choices and these horrible, fuck pro-lifers. Just fuck them till dead. Oh, shit. Evil. Anyway, till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, sorry. I wish I would, you know, it's just, you can't make anything out of this. It is kind of funny. I just thought of the Pope, right? Oh, the Pope died. Yeah, so what? You know, so yeah, it does matter who's getting ground, because some just couldn't, they couldn't be more deserving, you know, and others couldn't be more deserving of immunity and freedom from paying those prices, because they didn't put money in those vending machines. So anyway, there's probably some better way to. They didn't, you know, they didn't introduce the invasive species, so they shouldn't be strangled by it. But whatever. Enough said. So sorry to hear about your plight, Danny, and I wish, you know, I had magic powers and all that kind of crap. I wish I could make deserve have something to do with it. I wish. Fuck all that crap. But whatever. I appreciated your function in the world. Acknowledge the story, what I know of it, and that's the best I can do. So, till the next time, and such, and so forth, and whatnot. Yeah, that's all. Just, yeah, unpleasant.